It's almost time, guys. We knew this was coming, we knew this was going to happen, but it's official. Manchester City are going to be taken to court this Monday. I'm recording this on Friday the 13th. Unlucky for them, I guess, but this was announced a couple of days ago, so just wanted to go into what we can expect from this, what's possible that might happen, and how we ended up here, really, because this is something that's been going on for years now. The whole charges became public in, what was it, 2018, 2019, and here in 2024, 5-6 years later, we're only now finally getting Manchester City in the courtroom. So let's go through everything when it comes to this, really, because I'm going to go for a longer video. This is going to be a longer one. I'm warning you guys now. So buckle in. We're in for a bumpy ride. So shout out to the BBC Sport, to Dan Roan, the editor of BBC Sport, who wrote this article here, which kind of just sums up everything, really, I think, quite well. So finally, after years of build-up, perhaps English football's biggest and most controversial contest is set to begin. I would say absolutely, I doubt it's the biggest and most controversial one. Nothing touches this, I don't think. On one side, the Premier League. On the other, its defending champions and dominant force, Manchester City, 4-time champions in the last 4 years. City face 115 charges for allegedly breaking the financial rules of the competition. They have won for a record-breaking 4th consecutive season last season. Those charges will be heard at an independent hearing, which is set to start on Monday at an unknown location. Keeping it top secret, I guess. Subject to any legal delays. Let's hope there's none of those. This has been delayed enough, as I said in the intro. Billed as the sport trial set of the century, it is expected to run from 10 weeks, with a verdict expected in early 2025. It marks a defining stage in a legal dispute, the likes of which the game has never seen, and which could bring seismic consequences for both sides. This, after all, involves one of the world's most successful clubs being accused of serial cheating by the very league it has dominated for years. A club at the centre of a global network of 13 teams across 5 continents. The City Group, of course, the biggest and most powerful multi-club ownership in the world, and of course, they are owned by the state of Abu Dhabi. I know it's the family of Abu Dhabi technically, but it is effectively a state-run club, just like PSG are with Qatar as well, and Newcastle of Saudi Arabia, whose sovereign wealth fund has transformed the landscape of the sport. Yeah, seismic. I mean, Abramovich coming into Chelsea was huge, but Man City, what they've done, it's beyond what even Chelsea have done, in my opinion. With Abramovich, and now Bowley has taken over, but it's a different thing. But I think Man City have topped even what Chelsea were at the peak of their powers, to be honest. The case involves an unprecedented catalogue of 115 allegations spread over 14 seasons, including multiple charges of subverting the regulations by failing to provide accurate financial information. Yeah, Man City have done everything they can. This is why this has taken so long. Manchester City have done everything they can to delay this, to put it off, and while they've been doing that, they've been winning trophies. They won their first Champions League. They won, how many leagues is it now? 8 leagues or something like that in the last 15 years. It's been ridiculous. And all this time they've been winning stuff, and it's going to put all of this, every one of those right now, in my opinion, has an asterisk against it because of what's happening here. I know Man City fans will disagree with that, but it's a fact, because all of them right now, in theory, are in question. Absolutely, without a doubt. City have always strongly denied the charges, and whilst the speculation is intensifying, nobody knows what outcome, expected early next year, will be. If found guilty of the most serious charges, City would risk being forever associated with one of the biggest financial scandals in sporting history. City could, in theory, face a points deduction serious enough to condemn them to relegation or even expulsion from the Premier League. Such a fate would cast a long shadow over City's achievements, plunge the future of the manager and squad into uncertainty, and possibly spark claims for compensation from other clubs. Yeah, because think, right, who would have won those titles if it wasn't for Man City? Liverpool, Man United, Chelsea, Arsenal maybe as well. I'm not sure who's fit. Arsenal finished running up a couple seasons in a row now. All of those up for grabs. If they get found guilty of this and they get stripped of their titles, compensation's coming their way too. And yes, these guys are multi-billionaires, but that's going to hurt even them, and it's going to be the reputational damage as well. Beyond that, they would forever, a bit like Juventus in Italy with the Calciopoli scandal. That is always going to be associated with them. It's always going to be associated with them. This is worse than that, in my opinion, if they get found guilty of it, which, let's get into what's likely to happen with that, with this. So we're only just part way through the article. There's a lot to go through with this, as you'd expect with a saga that's been running for this long. It's been suggested that such a stain on the reputation of City and the club's owners could even affect Britain's relationship with the UAE, a key Gulf ally and trading partner, whose president is the brother of the club's majority owner, Sheikh Mansour. Equally, if City are cleared following a legal battle that is already thought to have cost both sides tens of millions of pounds, major questions will be asked of the Premier League. But whatever the verdict is reached after hearing that is set to last several weeks, 10 weeks, that'll take it to the end of November, so the end of the year almost. Early verdict in early 25, like he was saying. But whatever the verdict is reached after hearing this last several weeks, the impact could be profound, dictating the story of the season. It is now time for the case in the making for 6 years. This is what the CEO of the Premier League, Richard Masters, has said. It's difficult to overstate the seriousness and scale of a saga threatening to exacerbate widening divisions in the game, and which has become a test case for the Premier League's authority and credibility at a time when it already faces an array of challenges. Last month, at a London launch event celebrating the start of the new season, but dominated by questions over financial regulations, the Premier League's chief executive, Richard Masters, told the BBC Sport that it is now time for the City case to be resolved. It is absolutely a looming thing over the Premier League right now. Absolutely. Choosing his words carefully, but perhaps hinting at the toll the case could have already taken on the turmoil it has already unleashed, he added, "It's going to be for a number of years, and I think it's going to be self-evident that the case needs to be heard and answered." So 10 years after City were first punished for breaching financial rules, 6 years after the Premier League opened an investigation into the club, and 20 months since they were charged, how did we finally get here? What exactly does the club stand accused of? What forces are at play and what's at stake? Let's get into this. So, in June of this year, a Portuguese computer hacker in witness protection called Rui Pinto was reported to had told a conference that he was in possession of millions of documents that could be relevant to the Manchester City case. I didn't know this. This is new information to me. Pinto was well known to the game's authorities. The 34-year-old was the man behind the Football League's website, which has exposed confidential football transfers and contract information. Despite always claiming he was a whistleblower, last year he was handed a 4-year suspended sentence by a high court in Lisbon after it found him guilty on counts of attempted extortion, illegal access to data, and breach of correspondence. But his threat to release more information, confirmed by his lawyer, was a timely reminder of the continuing role of one of the key figures in this remarkable story. Back in 2018, the German publication Der Spiegel claimed that City had manipulated contracts to get around UEFA rules and said that its source was a whistleblower called John, the pseudonym of Pinto, created by football leagues. The Spiegel has published leaked documents, including emails purported to be between City top executives, some of whom remain at the City Football Group to this day, across several seasons following the Abu Dhabi takeover in 2008. They allege that these show the club had inflated sponsor revenue from state-owned airline Etihad and state-controlled telecoms firm Etisalat by disguising direct investments from its holding company, which is Mansour's Abu Dhabi United Group, or ADUG, as sponsorship income by channeling the funds through the company's accounts. This, it was alleged, was a means of meeting FFP rules introduced by UEFA in 2011 and profit sustainability rules brought in by the Premier League the following year in 2012. There then followed further allegations of misreporting financial information centred on documents that claimed to show secret off-the-books payments, handbacks basically, to the then manager Roberto Mancini. Mancini, the first man to win the Premier League with Manchester City in 2012, of course, via a consultancy fees from the club in Abu Dhabi, and giving players more money than was officially going through to the accounts, so that the recorded spending was less than it actually was. And of course, with the sponsorship thing as well, it's interesting. A few clubs have tried to do that. I believe Sheffield Wednesday actually got punished for doing something similar when it came to all of the chairman's companies that were effectively ghost companies. They didn't really exist. Like, there was a taxi firm that had no taxis and stuff like that, that he basically, they're sponsoring that club for £5 million, but it was coming out of his own pocket, back into his own pocket, to generate fake revenue. And I believe that's what Sheffield Wednesday got a points deduction within the Championship a few seasons ago, and they ended up getting relegated to League One as a result. Man City have done that on an unbelievably bigger scale though. City, who have always maintained that ADUG is a private fund rather than an arm of the state, refused to comment on any of Der Spiegel's revelations, saying the leaked emails obtained illegally and that they were an attempt to damage the club's reputation. But were they real? Honestly, probably, but that's just my opinion. City, along with the companies involved, strongly denied breaking any financial rules, but that did not stop both UEFA and the Premier League launching investigations as a result. City had already been fined millions of pounds by UEFA back in 2014 as part of a settlement after they were found to have breached FFP rules that were meant to make the game more sustainable, but which critics argue protect the historically biggest clubs by restricting investment by rivals, especially those with Middle Eastern backers. Look at what Newcastle are doing now, what they're trying to break into. They need to sell players to get players. It's difficult for them because of these regulations. Man City, of course, have found ways around that. Then, in early 2020, the club was hit with a 2-year ban from European competition as it was found to have committed serious breaches of the governing body's regulations. An independent panel of UEFA's Club Financial Control Board concluded that City had been overstating its sponsorship revenue in its accounts submitted to UEFA between 2012 and 2016, adding that the club failed to cooperate with the investigation, just like they're doing now. Criticising what it called prejudicial decisions following a flawed and consistently leaked process, City referred to a comprehensive body of irrefutable evidence in support of its position and appealed. A few months later, they were successful in their appeal. The Court of Arbitration for Sport overturned the ban, saying that it found no conclusive evidence that they had disguised funding from their owner as sponsorship money, and that most of the alleged breaches of the rules were either not established or time barred because they fell outside the 5-year statutory limit for prosecution. That worries me with this because it's been over 5 years now. It's been 6 years, so could they do the same thing again? Let's see. The CAS, the Court of Arbitration of Sport, revealed that Sheikh Mansour had written a letter to the court insisting that he had not authorised ADUG to make any payments to Etihad, Etisalat, or any of their affiliates in relation to the sponsorship of Manchester City. However, it also found that Man City committed a severe breach by failing to cooperate with UEFA's investigation with an initial £25 million fine that was later reduced to £8 million. For more than 2 years, the saga seemed to go quiet, but just behind the scenes of the Premier League's investigation had continued. In 2021, there was a dramatic glimpse of it when a High Court judge revealed that the Premier League had effectively accused City of delay tactics by failing to agree to hand over documents ordering the club to do so. Then in early 23 came the most sensational twist in this saga to date when City were on their way to their third of 4 consecutive Premier League titles and their first Champions League triumph. They were hit with a catalogue of charges relating to every one of the years since the club was bought by Mansour. So there we go. That's pretty much all of it. There's so much to go on with here. That, honestly, it's a fantastic piece here. Do check it out if you have not already. But in terms of the charges, let me just go from here. So the 115 charges are made up of 54 counts of failure to provide accurate financial information from 2009 to 2018, 14 counts of failure to provide accurate details for player and management payments in that same period, 5 counts of failure to comply with UEFA's rules involving FFP from 2013 to 2018, 7 counts of breaching Premier League PSR rules from 2015 to 2018, and 35 counts of failure to cooperate with the Premier League investigations from December 2018 to February 2023. We'll have to see what happens. Like I said, this is going to go, the actual case itself in court is going to go for 10 weeks. Now that is going to drag on to the end of November. Then in early 25, they'll reconvene and they'll find a charge. And whatever that charge is, if they do decide to charge them, it's going to be massive, I think, going off of this. But we'll have to see what happens. I'm very pessimistic about it. I've got a bad feeling they're just going to get a slap on the wrist. They're going to get like £100 million fine or something, which, okay, that's a lot of money, but not for these guys. But let us know your thoughts in the comments below, guys. Should Manchester City be kicked out of the Premier League? That is the question I'm asking you. Debate it in the comments. I hope this answers your questions really when it comes to the magnitude of what they have alleged to have been done. And let's be honest here, they have done some of these things. They've definitely delayed the Premier League in trying to, find out what's actually happened here. They've definitely tried to subvert the course of justice. That is the thing that they're accused of doing. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But we'll have to see what comes out in the wash. And when there's anything that happens, we'll be sure to bring you here on thefootballchronicle.com. So yeah, like, share, comment, subscribe. I hope you enjoyed that run through, and we'll see you very soon.